Welcome, everybody. There's a break in preseason for New York City FC as they approach the final stage next week with 4 games coming up before the opener against Miami. MLS has announced the Leagues Cup format and the 18 teams that will play, including New York City FC, and the U.S. Open field, which will also include the first team for New York City FC. That and a whole bunch more coming up on NYCFC Views Live.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. NYCFC Views.
Collins approaches the shot, and New York City wins the first MLS Cup on their first try, and they're going crazy. Tiene tiro y gol! Gol! New York City es el campeón de Major League Soccer!
The sickest New York City FC podcast. It's gonna be sick.
All right, here we go. Another week in here. I'm Glenn Crooks. There's Roberto Abramowitz. He's still away. We know that MLS has announced that the season pass, many of the broadcasters will be working remotely. Well, Roberto is going to do all the New York City games this year from Acapulco. So that's very nice, Roberto.
You know, there are advantages, but there are disadvantages. And if anybody saw my post on Twitter, they'll see that there are definitely disadvantages towards what MLS is doing. And we're proud to be able to announce that New York City FC Radio will be on the road at every single stadium for every single game. So we will be there. We will do what MLS and Apple are not.
Yeah, there was a lot of substance to their announcement this week with the MLS season pass and T-Mobile subscribers, I guess.
Yeah, very good.
That's a big part of it. And
huge.
Just to kind of go off of that, Jonathan Tannewald, our friend for the Philadelphia Inquirer, he tweeted this or X'd or posted this about.
Tweeted is fine.
Yeah. So Seth Bacon kind of runs the media side of things, the broadcast side, and then he makes a case that it's no different if they're remote or at the stadium. And as you see, Jonathan says he knows I and many viewers disagree. Well, all you have to do, Roberto, is ask Joe Tollison and Ian Joy. I'll never forget this. Patrick Mullins years ago scored a goal on the road, and the Yes Network was in replay, and I had Joe texting me asking what happened and who scored. And the only way he really knew is the fact that I said it was Mullins, and here's how it happened, and that's all they could do. So,
yeah, there is a difference. As much as Seth and other people would like to argue that there isn't a difference, there is, because there's one thing is that, first of all, you see the entire field. So you can see things that aren't on camera. There's a lot of times, and there's a lot of telltale signs when commentators are doing games off TV, off the tube, where they're saying, well, it's a free kick, and then they show who's taking the free kick, and then they can say, oh, it's Lionel Messi taking the free kick.
Or
right? And then, I mean, there's a lot of things like that.
There's
things that are off view, that are off camera. I mean, would we for instance, had Raquinho talking about Raquinho before they had Raquinho on TV. So our radio listeners, were clued into that. Had they, had that been a place where they had only done it remotely, they wouldn't have seen that for a while. And by the way, speaking of that,
are you trying to get me to give more Raquinho cards away? What's going on there?
Well, we can do that, but here's the other thing. Now, if MLS is going to do some games remotely, and we know that it's not all of them, or maybe not even most of them, actually.
Well, I'll tell you what I've heard.
At least that's what they.
I've heard more than I think has been published, but
but here's the thing. I just hope the only one I hope that they do remotely is Philadelphia when New York City plays in Philadelphia, because that means that both you and I get a booth again. We can both go. One of us doesn't have to do it from home.
Yeah, that's true. When we go to Subaru Park, one stays home and one goes in our crew because they just don't have the facility there. But from what I've heard, there's two top broadcast teams, and Jake Zivin and Taylor Twellman is going to be one of them. and they will always be on site. But
they're all doing Sunday nights.
Yeah,
they're doing Sunday nights games.
But let me finish. But for the most part, all other teams are going to be remote, and there's going to be a lot of, I think, situations where they're just going to stay. If there's a Friday, Saturday game or Saturday, Sunday game, they'll just stay in probably Vista Studios and just do 2 games and just stay there, And I know Seth Bacon said it's not a cost-cutting measure, but I don't know why else they would do it.
It definitely does not improve the quality. It 100% does not improve the quality. Quite the contrary. It hurts.
This is more the reason to listen into your radio, whether you have to sync it up with the video yourself manually, or whether you can use the Apple drop-down app, whatever it is. Syncing up to the NYCFC radio is going to be even more vital this year, Roberto, isn't that?
100%. And I hope they haven't announced anything yet, and I don't know. I don't have any inkling on what's going on. But I hope that this year they finally make Hispanics close to whole, whoever subscribes to MLS Season Pass, and put the Spanish radio broadcast on as well. Because Hispanic fans deserve to get the exact same thing that English-speaking fans get, because they're paying the exact same amount of money. And why should they get an inferior quality product, right, that doesn't include everything that English speakers get? It's terrible. They shouldn't do that. They absolutely shouldn't do that.
We haven't been told that it's even going to happen on the English side. It did the first 2 years, and we'll see what happens. But that was
supposed to be.
That was part of the announcement. That was not part of the announcement. Say what?
Originally, you were supposed to have home English radio and Spanish radio, and away English radio, Spanish radio, and then it just became home English radio, and that's it. Yeah. So let's hope that because they have the technology to do this, and especially with our broadcast, because we're on the road. So all they have to do is plug into our mixers, and they're ready to go.
Easy.
So let's hope that this happens.
Easy peasy. So let's get to New York City FC, as they have scrimmaged twice in preseason. Their most recent was a victory against the LA Galaxy, 2-0. And I am happy to say... Does that
mean that New York City is the champs now?
Well, at least of stage 1 of preseason, yes. And Roberto, I am happy to say that. So I am going to Coachella Invitational next week. I'm leaving on Tuesday. The first game's Wednesday. So I'm going to be on all 4 New York City streams as a commentator.
That is awesome to hear.
Yeah.
And we also know, and this is a conversation that I had with some other members of PR today, is that on, February 4th, which is next Tuesday, that will be the introductory press conference of Pascal Jansen. And that our own Glenn Crooks will have a one-on-one with Pascal out in Coachella. So very, very happy to hear that. I wish I could be in Coachella and be part of all of this. Sadly, I'll still be here in Mexico. So I'll be watching remotely. I'll be in Mexico City by then. And I'll be watching remotely and rooting you on.
All right. Well, Pascal Jansen celebrating his 52nd birthday also on that, getting his first win, even though it's an exhibition win. And I love that Keaton Parks scored the goal, one of the 2 goals. And he remarked afterwards, I thought it was, and then I looked it up, and I don't have this clip available, but I put it up on my social media. So if you go on X, it's at Glenn Crooks. It was... He said he made a comment that he hadn't scored with his feet in 3 years.
Wow.
And I looked back, and indeed, it was May 1st, 2022 against the San Jose Earthquakes in a 3-0 win at Yankee Stadium. Parks finished with his right foot. The other goals between then and now, which I believe was 4 in MLS regular season play, were all off the noggin. So interesting. So 14 career goals for Keaton. 7 with his head, and 3 of them have been game winners. So when he has scored, they've had some impact, because there have also been goals that help contribute to draws as well. So that's we don't have a whole lot we can add. I can tell you the Thiago Martins who didn't play in either one of those matches, who was the captain last year for New York City, designated player, central defender, does have a knock. And I have no specific information on it, whether it's long-term, short-term, don't know. Doesn't sound like it's long-term, and it sounds more like precautionary, like why play him in these games if he's not 100%, which of course makes sense, And then you get a chance to see Max Murray, the rookie, to see if he can handle some of the rigors of MLS. We'll see,
Right, and that's what we like to see in preseason, right? As who can wind up making the squad, who's going to be the guy who's going to come out of nowhere and get some minutes. I want to just say something because
I also
I just want to just quickly say something, is that I want to apologize for the fact that we're having a little bit of audio issues from here. I'm at my sister's house here in her apartment in Acapulco, and I know there's some extra noise coming out, so I apologize for that. It's not like my home studio where I've got things under control a lot better than I do here. So I just apologize to everybody.
All right. Now that you've apologized, everybody's going to now recognize it and be affected by it. When if you said nothing, that it probably would have just gone by. But anyway, it's thank you for your apology. Hey, so Pascal Jansen also had his first post-match interview. It was with our own Esteban Camino.
I like the way you said that.
Oh, awesome. Thanks a lot. Here he is after the 2-0 win over the Galaxy. It was the second game after a draw with RSL. I think that was 2-2. So 4 goals in 2 games. But anyway, here's Pascal.
Good performances from our side. Looking at where we came from during training exercises and the way we want to go in our play style. I think the guys did a really, really good job in both matches, and so they did also in camp in general. Well, I enjoyed myself very much, getting to know everybody, all the players, all the staff members. As I said just now, working really hard to improve ourselves. So that's I'm looking forward to the second camp. Well, everybody has welcomed me with open arms, so that is always good to feel. So I'm looking forward to the future because it's only been a while now, and hopefully we'll be working together for a long time. Another 4 games. It's going to be intense for us. Good opponents, but mainly focusing on getting better in our play style. See if we can shape the team to be the best team and ready for the 22nd of February.
All right, so New York City is going to open with Sporting KC out there. Then they're going to play San Diego. Then they're going to play St. Louis, and then finish off with Minnesota. And to answer your question in the chat, Roberto, it's worse now, the sound, than before. So go back to what you were before. Whatever.
Really, it's worse?
Yes. Yep. So anyway, your noise reduction. I don't know how to do the noise reduction anymore, but you were pretty good before the break.
Okay, so this is better now, supposedly?
Yep, listening to Pascal. So there he was. So those are his real first post-game comment. Not much there. What I hope to do is, get a little bit more of the methods and the philosophy. And Bakrar, you saw Bakrar score a goal. I tried to find out who that LA Galaxy defender was. My God, that was the softest defending I have seen in my life. But a good finish, slotted to the back post. And remember, Bakrar scored a bunch of goals last preseason. I think he had like 5 by the end of preseason last year. And then it just didn't translate into the regular year. Now, you and I have this debate about winning games in preseason and how important it is. Now, granted, this is from last year, but I found this from Keaton Parks. And I like Keaton Parks. So here was Keaton, and I asked him this question. I can't remember where it was, some presser somewhere. About you think it's important to start winning before the season begins. Here he is.
I do, yes. I think in the past our preseasons have been good, have been bad. We've won, we've lost, but I think it would be good to carry some momentum out of preseason into the season and just get everybody on the same page that we're going out to win every game. This isn't we're not still warming up as the start of the season takes off. And I think it'll be good for us to get in that mindset of just finishing games and winning games, whatever it takes. And so, yeah, hopefully we we can bring that out of everybody by the end of this preseason so that we're ready to go day one.
All right. That's right, baby.
All right. So, again, I don't think it really matters at the end of the day, but would you prefer to win games versus lose games during preseason? Of course you prefer to win and bring that positive mindset, and, it makes the preseason go better. But I don't think that at the end of the day, it's relevant as towards how you're going to perform once games start.
All right. Well, we'll see how it goes with these 4 games. And the last game is Minnesota United, which is exactly 1 week before kicking off against Inter Messi in Fort Lauderdale. So we'll see. It'll be interesting to see how it all develops out there and the matchups. And it looks like Julian Fernandez and Agustin Ojeda. That's the other thing we've heard a bit, is that they're having a very good preseason. So, that's one thing to look at. Will they get more minutes somehow? But you got Hannes Wolf on one side, Santi Rodriguez on the other, if Maxi Morales is starting. So I don't know how all that's going to work out. And if Bakar keeps filling up the back of the net, he started out last year, but it was Alonso Martinez that ended up taking over. So how do you deal with that? Do you try to play 2 up front? That's not the way Pascal Jansen, I don't think, has ever set up. So, or do you play one a little underneath the other? I don't know. There's other ways to look at it if they're both hot, but
right. I mean, and you'll find out some of that next week. The thing is that as we saw the team and how they were used last year, it's going to be different this year because Pascal Jansen is going to have different opinions and going to see different players in a different way than Nick Cushing did. And he might favor some of the qualities that one player has over another. So, we'll probably see some differences. It's not going to be the same, even if it might be the same lineup, it's just not going to be the same. And we'll find out how different when they start versus Inter Miami, and maybe we'll get a lot more information once you speak with him on Tuesday.
Yep. And you got Miami on there. Well, it's not quite as global of a tour, but it's global. They're in South America for a bit. Last year it was China, though, which I think is a little bit more grueling. But,
yes.
This is, again, leading right into the season with players who are in there, with players you're counting on that are in their upper 30s. And I don't know. I know
well, they started out pretty well. I mean, they played in Peru last week or earlier this week. They played in Peru. They got over 70,000 fans, filled up the stadium, and wound up winning in penalty kicks.
Yeah. No, it's obviously a branding thing. They're going to fill up every stadium wherever they go with Messi. And
100%.
But you understand.
And by the way, I think New York City should do some of that as well, as far as branding is concerned, because let's remember that the MLS season pass, Apple TV, is international. You can get it in Peru, you can get it in Mexico, you can get it in China. Doesn't matter. It's absolutely international, and the team should be looking to become a global brand because it's a New York City team, and there's no more global city in the world than New York City. And so, I think that it's a global. The team should look at it that way.
And $1 billion franchise, as we learned today from Sportico. If
it is. So
correct,
I have something to say about that, too, because I made a tweet earlier in the day about Mauricio. Keep on thinking Mauricio and Pochettino. Marcelo Claure, right? Marcelo Claure bought what was believed to be 10% of the team or 10% of the team for $15 million. Or $150 million, rather. So that's 10% of what we thought the valuation was of $1.5 billion. Now we see the valuation today of $1 billion. So I spoke with somebody on the team, and the explanation that I was given is that he bought into the corporation that not only owns New York City FC, but also owns the stadium. And now the stadium itself, aside from New York City FC, the stadium itself, now that it's being built, everything's been approved, and shovels in the ground, and they're full steam ahead. The stadium is worth right about now, even though it hasn't been built, but that's an $800,000 project, or $800 million project. So what it really is that his investment, really from 1.5, has really gone to 1.8 million. So that's the way that is working. And I mean, also, Marcelo is the owner of Bolivar, which is one of the teams in CFG. He's a heavy investor in Girona, and maybe even a heavier investor in the future, for what I'm hearing. So, he's got a lot of he has a lot of influence throughout the company because of his investments in all these teams, and we're going to find out how much of a investment he has in New York City and how much of a say he has in New York City, because one of the things we spoke about is a possibility of getting him on here on NYCFC Views. So we've made the ask to get him on and speak to him about everything soccer with him. And I think it's going to be, a great conversation once we can get him on.
Pascal Jansen's, I thought this was interesting, Europa League today. His last two teams where he was a head coach went against each other today. Ferencváros, the Hungarian team, defeated AZ Alkmaar 4-3. Alkmaar scored 3 goals in the final quarter hour to make it kind of interesting. So what he could say is that the team I most recently worked with had the better of it today in Europa League. And I know Alkmaar has advanced, and let me see. So both of them are through in what is the exact same format as UEFA Champions League. And then, who finished number 1? Lazio, even though they lost today. And Tati Castellanos, who's become an integral figure with Immobile moving on. And Tati played, I think he played the full match today. I watched about 75 minutes of it. And, he's just doing his thing the same way he always has. So it's fun to watch.
Very, very good. I wonder how Spurs did, because Spurs was winning. And I don't know if they were able to finish or they found a way to collapse. No, they won. They won 3-0 against Elfsborg. And so good for that. All right.
Yeah. And then Man United fans, Man United won their match.
Eddie's happy then.
Which they should have on the road against the team from Romania, which I don't know who. I don't know who. It's a Romanian team. I don't know them.
CSB.
Yeah. So nothing else. I don't think too. But if you just look at the top 8, it's Lazio, Athletic Club, Man United's 3rd, Spurs are 4th. Eintracht Frankfurt, Lyon, Olympiacos, and Rangers. That's the top 8 that get through automatically to the round of 16, just like Champions League. So that's that. Other news on the New York City side. So everybody's looking to in the transactions table each day to see if anything's happened. Well, Christian McFarlane happened. The New York City homegrown has, as we figured and have talked about quite often here and off mic, just in social settings, it looked like he was going to go to Man City on a permanent move, and indeed he has, and that was announced last week. It seems like, Roberto, they were just waiting for him to turn 18 because you can't go do it until you're 18. And he's got the English passport, and he played for the U17s in England, now the U18s. And
he's still eligible for the U.S., by the way.
Yeah. Well, he's a dual citizen.
He is.
So good for him. I mean, he got his chance to play a little bit with the first team this year when when Kevin O'Toole was down with a groin or a hamstring. Mm-hmm. And I think he started 3 straight games and he got a little better each game. He got a little bit more start of each game. So he was 17 at the time. So I think we've got to at least say, look, and so he's obviously promising. Man City sees it, and good for New York City. It's a permanent transfer, so they're getting something out of this. We don't have any figures.
Normally they get money, and then if he gets sold, they get extra money. So
yeah.
Who was it that just got sold?
John Duran. John Duran
from Aston Villa, and so the
Chicago
Fire, who had him basically for a cup of coffee. Right? I mean, he didn't even unpack his bags in Chicago. Got an extra $8.7 million because of the transfer. Was it a $30 million transfer or something like that to Saudi Arabia? Or
he's going to Saudi.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's what you want to do. That's what you want to do.
Here's a list of the other homegrowns. This is courtesy of Soccer America. They put out some great graphs sometimes that are real easy to read and understand. And you notice the homegrowns that have transferred, other than John Tolkien, they're all teenagers. And Baraktarovic, he's interesting. He's gone to PSV, which where obviously players are developing. And then Akimboni, who played against New York City last year, filled in and did really well. I mean, you thought they might have been able to take advantage of him, but it didn't happen.
Yeah.
He's off to Bournemouth, where our boy Andoni Iraola continues to churn it out.
It's great.
So listen to this. So Bournemouth is there's 6 in the table, I think. I don't have it in front of me. I think they're 6th now. And but listen, here is his record against coaches that everybody knows. He's 2-0 against Mikel Arteta. He's 2-1 against Pep Guardiola. He's won his only match facing Ange Postecoglou. He's 3-0 against Ruben Amorim. 2-2 Enzo Maresca from Chelsea. He's 4-1 against Eddie Howe, and 5-0 against Nuno Espirito Santo. And that was the most recent game when they just clobbered Nottingham Forest. And they play Liverpool on Saturday at the Vitality Stadium. And if there's a game to watch, first of all, that place holds only 10,000. That's one of the places I want to go to someday, Roberto, before they expand it or knock it down or whatever they're going to do with it. 10,000 people for a Premier League game. Liverpool coming to town. They're hot. And I think that's I just love that. And I love that Iraola played for New York City. I love the fact he comes from Bilbao and that Basque country where everybody that's on that team has to have either trained there or been born there or grown up there. And that's still the case with Bilbao. And very cool. Very cool.
It's very cool. It's admirable what he's been able to do. I mean, so many Spanish coaches are, in the Premier League now and doing well. So, although one of them just got fired, but hey, that happens.
Yes, Lopetegui out. And my
Your
good friend,
boy.
and my boy Edu Rubio. Edu Rubio, it will have another job in coaching. He's very good at what he does, and I'm not going to be shocked if it might be in the United States of America. We'll see. I'm trying to help where I can. I have some connections to at least look at his CV and speak to him. Ricardo Pepi, what a goal he scored. So I'm watching Matty Lawrence. Big news, actually. Matty Lawrence is back on social media as of today.
I wanted to say that, yes.
So
he's on Blue Sky now, too.
I saw that.
Blue Sky.
I was his first follower on Blue Sky. So, but
I'll send you a medal.
We spent the afternoon together yesterday. He came to New Brunswick, took the train in where we went to Harvest Moon, which is a cool spot in New Brunswick. And there were 3 TVs right in front of us, all with Paramount Plus, different games. The Galazzo show was very important yesterday because it's the only way you can catch. And there were so many goals being scored. It was really fun, I have to say. And
when I get back to New York, which will be on Wednesday, next time something like that happens, invite me. I'll drive out to Jersey.
All right. Don't drive. Take the train, man. What are you driving for?
Because it's easier.
Yeah, but we have a new congestion commuter fee.
It doesn't affect me. As long as I don't go below
60th it was added.
Street,
no,
I'm okay.
It's been added while you've been away.
Yeah, by the way, I get American
Phil Murphy.
Here. Don't think
Phil
that
Murphy
I don't.
said if New York's doing it, we're doing it. So if you come in, man, it's an added tax. Well, actually, the tax for you, if you come in and join us, is you have to pay for the meal and the drinks. So that'll be the
that's some
invitation. But Pepe scored this great goal.
Nobody lives in New Jersey, by the way.
Pepe has scored. What is he? 1.43 goals per 90 minutes, which is second in all of Europe. But I saw he got injured, and I saw a post that he's out with a knee injury for a lengthy period of time.
Oh no!
But I never confirmed it. You know how you see these things sometimes, and before you go crazy, you have to go and look at a reliable source. It was just somebody who tweeted it. I don't know if they were reliable. He was being treated by the trainer. I didn't, and I'm telling you, it was like a half hour before we came on. I saw this, and so hopefully that's not the case. But if it is,
that's huge.
Yeah, now he's not going to be able to play in Nations League in the semi and final.
I mean, he's been burning it up. Like everything he touches is finding a way to go to the back of the net. And by the way, the touch that he did was just so subtle. And the fact that he was able to make contact with the ball, it changed the direction of the ball enough to go through the defender's legs and go to the back of the net. So it was a key deflection. It's minor, but it was good enough to score.
Hey, it's it's your job in that position is get to the front post, flash in front of the keeper, force the keeper to make a reaction too. And it's what strikers do. It's what great strikers do. That's Olivier Giroud. His career was built on that run that Pepe and that goal that Pepe scored. And now what do I got here? I wanted to get to Atletico San Luis and Domi Torron. But first, Miguel Almiron. The deal is done, and he's coming back to Atlanta United. Here's Ronnie Dailu when he heard the news. I just thought we'd show this. He just found out that Almiron is coming to Atlanta United. And, well, they have – how about this midfield? So, Saba Lobjanidze, I think he's a fantastic player. Moranchuk, who they got last year, and now I think will prosper a little bit more, having a guy like Almiron in the mid. Also, Bartosz Slic, who has been a big part of it. Mosquera is new to the fold, and I just think he's just going to help turn things in a real positive direction for them.
It may take them a little while, but once they get going, they're going to be great. I think that they're going to be a hard out. It's going to be one of the better teams in MLS.
Well, right now they're short on the striker area, but according to our old Tom Bogert, Emmanuel Latte Lath from Middlesbrough, listed at 27 goals in 54 games in the EFL Championship for Middlesbrough, and Bogert says
that's a tough league.
Bogert says it's a pretty much a done deal. So he's about a 6-footer, not massive, but a finisher, and that's exactly what Atlanta United's missing. Well, remember they have all that GAM to spend, so what the hell?
They do, and I mean, you know that Arthur Blank is going to say, "Hey, push it to the limit," because if they allowed him, he'd be spending EPL money.
Yeah. One other New York City note: New York City FC 2 news. Their leading scorer last year with 17 goals and 7 assists was Taylor Calhera, and he has been transferred to. Why didn't I write it down? Oh, to FC Tulsa.
Okay.
And they're in the USL Championship. So that's not a lateral move since MLS Next Pro is third tier, like USL League One. So it's a move up the ladder for Calhera, who's proven that he can score goals. And,
awesome.
Yep. All right.
Very good. But we still have to talk about Leagues Cup and stuff.
Well,
we haven't done
I'm not ending the podcast. It's time to kick it around, Sammy.
All right.
All right. Leagues Cup.
Oh, wow. That's very cool.
18 teams.
Yes.
We now know, including New York City FC, who will host 3 games in phase 1, they're calling it. Roberto put in the group text today, like his head was exploding from this MLS press release, which I have here and stapled. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, and a lot of writing, 5, and a lot of figuring out, 5, 6, 7. So 7 pages here of how this format's going to work. By the way,
I just want to let you know that I used ChatGPT to try to summarize it, and it exploded.
Okay. I'm sure it did. Anyway.
Oh, come on, man. I mean, it's like,
let's keep it simple. It's 18 teams from MLS.
36 teams. Right.
Well, you let me go, man. 18 teams from MLS, 18 teams from Liga MX. The best part of this new format is that it's only MLS versus Liga MX up through the quarterfinals of the event. Or up to the quarterfinals of the event. So that's good because in this opening phase, New York City will host 3 Mexican teams. Which will be nice. Hopefully Yankee Stadium, Citi Field. Is it going to be Sports Illustrated Arena? Will it be I think Hudson River Blue put something out there about maybe playing, and maybe that was U.S. Open Cup at Randall's Island. That was probably U.S. Open Cup.
That's U.S. Open Cup. That would be,
Which New York City is also their first team is also involved. Okay.
So I got information on that. I've got firsthand information on that. So do you want to? If I'll do a U.S. Open Cup quickly, which is depending on the schedule that they have in Randall's Island at Icon Stadium. If it's available, then they're going. They'll play as many games as they can in the U.S. Open Cup there, which is great, and it's going to be the first team. Now, as far as Leagues Cup is concerned, so they have 3 different divisions in this, and they have the teams that are 1 through 3, 4 through 6, and 7 through 9. Okay, from each league. So New York City is going to play one of the teams that's 1 through 3. They're going to play one of the teams that's 4 through 6, and they're going to play one of the teams that's 7 through 9. And if it's one of the teams that they could wind up playing, which is the upper echelon teams, is Chivas. Can you imagine Chivas in New York? It'd be freaking great. And so as far as I know, part of the reason why they haven't released who the teams are, because MLS knows, some people at New York City know, but they're not releasing anything yet, is that they're trying to accommodate the schedules as best as possible, especially for New York City FC, to see how many of these games they can actually play at Yankee Stadium or Citi Field, because they want to do that as much as they can. And if not, then they'll default to Sports Illustrated Stadium, formerly known as Red Bull Arena. So, but most likely the game against one of the 1 through 3 teams would be played in New York City, and then probably the other 2 at Red Bull Arena. But none of that is confirmed. They're trying to get as many games as possible in New York.
All right. So originally, when I looked at it, I thought since New York City is in Tier 2, I thought they were playing all Tier 2 teams from Liga MX, but that's not the case, as you've explained.
It's not the case based on what I was told today.
No, and because initially I thought I saw San Luis in there, and that's Dome Torrent, and how fun would that be if Dome Torrent came back to New York to coach them against his former club, And
Cox is there, which was like one of the first international games that New York City played in, year 1, year 2, when they went down to Aguascalientes and played Necaxa. So they're one of the teams. So, we'll see who it winds up being. It's going to be. I'm really interested. So they get 3 games against Mexican teams, which I think is. Better. I don't think anybody really wants to see New York City play. I don't know, Austin.
Anybody? No. That was the worst part of this to me, is that those games were uninteresting. I had no. We broadcast them and we had fun doing it. We described it, but I was not interested in those games. But I was interested in.
Well, the Cincinnati game was fun, not in a good way, but it was definitely a fun game.
Yeah, but you played Cincinnati 100 times last year. It's not.
I know.
Fun. It's fun playing somebody new, especially from a different country. That's fun for me.
Yes, 100%. I 100% agree with you.
So that's kudos to the organizers on this. As far as trying to explain how it's going, I think you did a good job, Roberto, and I'm happy that you found out a little bit more detail on that. So we'll know the opponents probably pretty soon, I would think, right?
I would think within the next couple of weeks we're gonna find out.
And the date, yeah, because there's only a window. We don't know what dates. We have heard that the knockout games are going to be midweek for certain.
Yes,
I think that's for certain. I don't know about these. Phase 1 games, these group games. I'm not sure what's happening.
But the one thing that's important also to know is that if whatever teams advance further into the rounds from quarterfinals on, if they have an MLS game scheduled, that MLS game is going to be postponed so the MLS team can concentrate on playing the Leagues Cup. So if like New York City is playing, I don't know, Philadelphia on a Saturday, but they have to play Club America on a Wednesday, the Philly game's getting postponed and it's getting thrown in someplace else in the calendar in the future.
Yeah.
So they're going to be very, focused on trying to win Leagues Cup.
All right, and then U.S. Open Cup is back to 16 now MLS teams. It was 8 last year. It's 16, and New York City will have their first team in. New York Red Bulls will have their first team in. 32 amateur teams, 15 playing for the first time, including the New Jersey Alliance in Lyndhurst, And people that go to MetLife Stadium for the Giants and Jets or soccer, they know where Lyndhurst is. It's right there. And this is interesting. 26 teams in all out of the 96 playing in their first U.S. Open Cup, including Westchester FC. Did you see who the new owner of Westchester FC? Part owner.
I saw that, and now I'm blanking on it.
Tyler Adams.
Tyler Adams. Okay, that was it.
Because he played up that way, Wappinger Falls, and so he's kind of a legend in that area of the state. They saw, and talking about Red Bulls, because he came out of Red Bull, Kamar Lawrence was the first player that they signed, the former left back for the Red Bulls, who was pretty dynamite against New York City FC in those early matchups.
Yes, he was.
The Hudson River Derby. So, so we had that too. And let's see. Just a couple of other things, Roberto. And then I'll let you get back to the beach. In women's football.
Yes.
So this is interesting. Naomi Girma transferred from San Diego and NWSL to Chelsea for a record $1 million fee. So it's really interesting how the money and also the valuations of the clubs, they're nowhere near MLS, but what's going on there. And they've added a new franchise in Denver. And the commissioner, Jessica Berman, said she can see NWSL expanding to a 30-team league like MLS, which is pretty wild. So I just hope they seem like smart people, as long as they do it in a
they have to do it organically, slowly, not overdo it. We saw what happened with the original NASL, and we don't want that to happen. Things are growing great for all of women's sports. The WNBA had ridiculous ratings, and it's grown immensely in popularity, and NWSL did as well. And we just hope that this continues and that they don't try to rush it. Just continue growing as you're growing. And we just hope that, it becomes like they had very good ratings on television. So, and they have a lot of their games on CBS and a lot of games on ESPN now. So, it's great to see. We want to see it succeed.
Yeah. When I think of women's athletics, it's hard not to think of Caitlin Clark. Did you see she turned down the invitation to be part of the NBA three-point shootout? How fun would that have been? But her reasoning, I like her. Her reasoning was, I want to do, because she didn't do it last year, she wants to do the WNBA three-point shootout first before she does the NBA. So she'll do that this year, and then maybe she'll do the NBA next year.
Well, what was it? Was it last year? It was Ionescu who plays for the WNBA champion Liberty, Sabrina Ionescu. She competed against Steph Curry. And that was, Curry was out of his mind in that. But Ionescu normally can, pretty much nail all of them. So it turned out to be a great competition. To me, it was like my favorite part of the NBA weekend, All-Star weekend, which is coming up again mid-February.
Well, the reason they're disappointed Caitlin Clark's not going to be there, because apparently the viewership was down by a pretty high percentage point for last year's event, and they don't foresee it being much better this year. So they were looking for a boost that way too.
Yeah, because she's ratings gold. No matter what she does, she's absolute ratings gold. And I'm happy that she said what she said and is doing what is doing. Let her make the priority to be the WNBA and make her debut there, and then she can go and do the NBA next year. And I'm sure that the next time that there's a U.S. national team, she's going to be on it. There's no way she's not now.
And for those that are listening or watching that didn't hear us say this a couple of months ago, her father was quoted as saying, because she played soccer in high school and some club soccer, that if she stuck with soccer, she would have been a national team soccer player. Which
don't doubt it.
You can't doubt that either.
No, I don't doubt it at all.
All right, final thing. I like to finish with interesting stuff. Roberto, I'm going to try to make that a habit. Andy Reid. Now, you'll like this. You're an NFL guy, and we got the Super Bowl coming up, the Beagles against the Chiefs.
The Beagles?
Here in this part of the state, we call them the Beagles. Nobody likes the Eagles where I live. They're the Beagles.
Eddie will be very happy you said that.
All right. Anyway, Andy Reid. So I read this article in The Athletic, because I do enjoy reading about coaches in any sport.
Of course.
he has over 100 screen passes available in his offense. He's developed 100 screen passes, and he said in the article, I haven't used them all yet, but he's known around the NFL, and I didn't know this, maybe you've heard this before, as the screen master. So I watched this AFC Championship game really closely, and it's true, man. They have all these different – the way they work it out, and what his players say in this article is that the guy is so detail-oriented and precise in his instruction. It could be just a little scrape, just a little turn of the body and a scrape, to get loose. And 19 touchdowns on screen passes since 2018. That's 8 more than any other NFL team. I think that's the one thing. So that's my tip. That's one thing to look out for in this Super Bowl, is to see how many screen passes you guys identify and see how it goes.
That is awesome. So he's coaching Kansas City against a team he used to coach, the Philadelphia Eagles, as you said.
That's cool too. That's cool too. And the Eagles, credit to them, whoever their coach is, he was under the gun. They made a decision to keep the guy, and now they're in the Super Bowl. So just for all it's interesting out there how the trigger gets pulled sometimes, and maybe the appropriate amount of time's not given to somebody.
Because last year they finished the season awfully. I mean, they lost it like almost every game, and by a lot. And like people wanted to, were calling for his head. And what my feeling is on coaches as far as the patience that sometimes owners don't have with them. And it's like, if a guy's a good coach, sometimes you have a bad season. You learn from that bad season. We're all supposed to learn from mistakes. You make mistakes to learn from mistakes. And, sometimes owners just don't have the patience for that. And just because they're owners of a football team doesn't mean that they're very bright, footballistically or any sport. They were bright at something else that gave them a lot of money, and now they have a toy. So it doesn't mean that they really know what's going on. And, sometimes you just have to have patience. Let people make mistakes and then fix them. Now, if they can't fix them, then fine. Gone.
Well, West Ham would be a perfect example of, there's billionaires pretty much with every Premier League team. Whoever owns, I can't remember the guy's name, but he made his money through pornographic film. So you have that guy who's running the show and is someone, and I can say this with a certain amount of clarity and certainty, that he's just having fun with his toy, and it's that's what happens sometimes in these situations.
And the funny thing is that for the owners, in some cases, not all, it's a toy and something to have fun with, and yet for the fans, it's something absolutely deadly serious.
Oh my gosh, they're dying. They're dying with each bad pass, with each own goal. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that's going to be it for us, Roberto. Good stuff, man. Hope you enjoy the rest of your trip. We
have one quickie. Can I give you one quickie little story?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, because Daniel Pantaleon said that, just wrote us, and he put it up there, and I had heard that this might be happening. Sergio Ramos, remember him? Real Madrid, Spain national team.
About 45 years old. Monterrey?
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well,
my good buddy, Tato Noriega, who's an ex-teammate of mine and co-worker at ESPN, former national team player here in Mexico. He's the president of the club, and he has brought in Sergio Ramos.
Well, I've always loved Ramos, man. He's a warrior, smart, tough. Who wouldn't want that dude on your team? Seriously, who would not want that dude?
We'll see what he's got left.
Yeah,
and trust me, the Mexican League, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on there.
Well, he must be he's probably like 37, right? Somewhere in that.
He's not young.
He's not young. All right. Well, we'll find out more about that later, perhaps.
All right, man. He had signed in MLS. Everybody in Mexico would be screaming that it's a retirement league. But he signed in Mexico, so everybody's like, we got the guy from Spain, the national team, in Real Madrid.
All right.
Different strokes for different folks.
Good stuff. All right. Well, we're only about 3 weeks away from our first official broadcast. I would remind everyone that New York City's got 4 games out at Coachella, and I'll put it up on social media, as will they. And I'll be providing the color analyst. I'll be the color analyst on the 4 games. I don't know who my play-by-play guy is. Doesn't matter. It's Indio, California, and and a chance to see the boys play. So I hope everybody tunes in, and these things are up for in perpetuity. I think they stay up on YouTube and you can watch them anytime. So
that's awesome. And remember that on the Spanish side of radio, which you can find in TuneIn, I've got several games that are running back to back to back to back. So the channel's open 24 hours a day. And if you miss listening to New York City, you want to get a game in, well, they got New York City against Tigres, 1 against Red Bull. That was a win, by the way. Spoiler alert. And a game against Inter Miami. By the way, Sergio Ramos turns 39 March 30th.
Well, I said 38. All right. So he is 38. All right.
Yeah.
So March 3rd. Wow. Well, I didn't.
Can you imagine if MLS signed a 39-year-old? Oh, God. But in Mexico, yeah, it's great. If he's here at retirement league.
Thiago Silva. Somebody just put out the top 10 center backs under 6 feet tall, which is one of my favorite. I like that. And maybe I'll share that next week because I think there's some great names on that list, including Thiago Silva, who I believe is also 39 years old, and playing in the Premier League. So kudos to him.
Hey, have a great time. Have a great time in Coachella. I'm jealous that you'll be there and then I'm not going to be there. And, oh, yeah, you get to play some golf. If there's any way I can escape out there, even if it's for 2 days and catch a game, I'm going to try. It's going to be hard, but we'll see what happens. And we'll figure it out. But have a brilliant time out there. And for everybody, remember that Glenn's going to interview Pascal Jansen one-on-one on next Tuesday.
Well,
it might not be. Bring that.
It might not be
Tuesday.
It might not be next Tuesday, but it will happen because I land only an hour before that press conference starts. So I don't know how this is all going to work out yet. And Alex Cano, one more thing. Any word when the new home jersey is out? I've heard very soon. Yep. When? And
it hasn't leaked.
It hasn't leaked, and I haven't seen it, but the word is that the supporters will like it. So we'll see. That's all. I'm sure
it's going to be blue.
There'll be some blue in it. Yeah, maybe we could guarantee that, unless it's orange. So there you go. Maybe we'll have orange.
What are we going to call them? I mean, I can't not call them Los Celestes.
I don't know. All right, man. Let's get out of here. For Roberto Abramowitz, I'm Glenn Crooks. It was nice of you to join us here on NYCFC Views Live.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast NYCFC Views on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.